You like the hat, T?
Love it, man.
It looks good, bro.
It does look good.
They turned out good, man. We went through a lot of samples. I'm really specific about hats, it turns out. I thought I wasn't. I really did. I thought it'd be no big deal. I was like, yeah, I want it to be a nice hat. And this process started in like...
I'm picky as shit on hats. Well, and we got that Texas heat here in Missouri, and then the humidity of North Carolina today. So we... So you can't even wear this outside right now, because
don't want to get it messed up.
You don't get that, sweat stain.
Sweat turn around and wear it frat boy style. Let's see how that
Alex
looks.
Laughlin style.
That's key. That's key to how this. No, way up, higher, up higher.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's got to be like way angled, like
back,
that.
like that.
There you go. There you go.
Dude, I don't know if I'm.
There you
I got too big ears for that. I'm flying. Jeez, Louise.
I don't know, man. How about you like that lightning?
That's a little better. Yeah, that's
this is drunk JT
right there.
This is
no. Real quick. Hey, look, check out my new hat. You're gonna pirate talk. Guys, everybody, come over here. Why are you over there?
Yeah. But
it's
for some reason, I'm like Lincoln Hawk, from over the top. Like I get drunk and then my hat is, I flip the switch. I'm like a machine.
Solid reference there, though.
Yeah,
I mean, you may have just put some miles on the odometer. Everybody knows your age now. If you're talking about Stallone over
driving
the top,
a truck. Yep.
Well, if you haven't watched Over
you
the
know
Top,
what movie that is, Blake?
I do. Dad and I are huge Stallone fans. We're
I was gonna say.
Italian, man.
Usually, like if I reference it, I make a list for people. But you gotta watch this. You gotta watch this. You gotta watch this. Because I don't even understand how these kids. Can have a conversation with people, because people reference old movies all the time and say little quotes from them and stuff, and they laugh, but they don't even know what the hell they're talking about. Come to find out. You're like, what are they laughing about then?
What about going, like, whenever I was in Denver for the Mile Highs, going through the airport, it was the same weekend, right, as Taylor Swift being there, and like every other person was wearing like a vintage music shirt, and I'm looking at their faces and like profiling them age-wise, and they're wearing like a Nirvana shirt or a Pink Floyd shirt or George Jones or whatever, and it's like, I bet you've never even heard their music. Right? I don't know that you could even, like, I sound like that old guy now.
Oh yeah.
But it is kind of funny. I find it interesting.
It is.
We better roll the intro.
Yep, let's get this thing going.
Did JT just give himself a tagline or something? I think. Let's get this thing going. Print the shirts.
Let's get it on.
No. 4 pages of notes today. Listen, I've never had any problem expressing my opinions, but what we're doing here is bigger than that. These are conversations that need to be had in an unfiltered way. Drag racing's all I've ever done. It's all I care to do. I respect the history, I appreciate how far we've come, but I want more for this sport, and I'll fight for it. It's uncut, it's unfiltered. This is the show of shows. The biggest names in drag racing. No holds barred. This is the great American motorsport. Drag racing. Prove me wrong. I'll wait. Hey gang, Wes Buck here, Drag Illustrated Magazine, checking in. It is Wednesday, July 26, 2023. Hope you're doing well out there in the World Wide Web. Thank you guys so much for being a part of the show, joining us each and every weekend to share the gospel of drag racing. So I would encourage you, please click like, click share, click subscribe, help us spread the message. And honestly, it's a pretty solid segue for what I want to talk about to kind of start today's show. I'm sure many of you are aware of the disheartening news that we've had really the last couple of weeks, a rough little stretch for the sport of drag racing. A number of our beloved racetracks have closed, a few of them shockingly unannounced. Atco Dragway in New Jersey, Emerald Coast Dragway in Florida sold, Redline Raceway in Texas shut down again, even Bandimere Speedway outside of Denver, Colorado. They just hosted their final NHRA Mile High Nationals and intend to close down at the end of the season. It's bad news. It's devastating news, and there's really no way around it. But I wanted to take this brief opportunity to kind of ask everybody share something that I think we all need to remember. Just as quick as bad news travels, it's my belief that we collectively can spread some positivity. We can rally as a community, we can lift each other up, and we can lift up this group of people. It's interesting. Bad news, it flies private, right? Bad news travels fast. The old cliche is true. Good news, however, it feels like it's more of a horse and buggy situation. Takes a while for that to get around. And I want to talk about some of the data that supports this whole situation. So we pay attention to numbers here at Drag Illustrated. You know, numbers are a big part of drag racing. They're certainly a big part of the media business. And it, without fail, I can post a story, or one of our team members, new digital director, content director, Kayla Zadell, somebody on a team can post a story about a track closing, post a graphic that identifies a track closing down or something horrible happens. And I can't tell you how many people just are foaming at the mouth to spread that news. We make a post about a track closing and it immediately gets hundreds, if not thousands of shares. All this engagement, people clicking everything they can possibly click to help spread this bad news. And, you know, for a little bit of clarity, I guess, I think we can change that. Where's that energy when good things are happening? I think about these bad news posts damn near go viral. Right? Like literally in our community, at least, they do go viral. But when we share positive news about a new track or a new facility being built, a new sanction, a new series, a new event, something exciting, sellout crowds, oftentimes well received, but not phenomenally well received, right? It's normally, I would say, 100 to 1 how much better bad news performs over good news. And that's a big part of the news business. This isn't rocket science, right? I mean, there's an old saying in the publishing biz that goes, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's because we as humans, we're programmed, like our DNA, it's in our DNA to share bad news. It's a self-preservation function, to be honest, because back 100,000 years ago or whatever, we had to share bad news to keep everyone safe, right? To keep everyone alive. If a buffalo's running this way, we need to spread the word. That has carried on hundreds of years later, generations later, and we still do that. And now in this hyper-connected world we live in, we do it really, really, really fast and really, really, really effectively via social media. And I guess what I kind of want to challenge you guys in this whole community today, I would like, as racers, members of the racing community, the Racers Club, that was a fantastic little work in. Let's do something different. Let's try to make it our nature as a group to be the ones that spread positivity, to be the ones that are quick to remind everybody of all the incredible things that are happening in the sport of drag racing. Let's dispel any and all notion that this sport is going away. See a packed house on social, click share. It's not that hard. You see someone celebrating a big win or even a rough weekend. If they made it home safe, put it back in the box and live to race another day, that's a victory out here. Click share, click like, try to engage with the positive content. You'd be blown away what that will do for your news feed, especially if you get a little bit tired of the doom and gloom that seems to exist exclusively on social media. Because I tell you what, I've got a lot of great neighbors. I bump into people all the time that are wonderful, great things happening in their lives. And I talk to racers all the time that are experiencing fantastic things. Great things happening in this community, but we're not nearly as excited and revved up about sharing that type of message because it doesn't perform as well, right? We all want the clicks. We all want the likes. We all want the engagement on our socials. I get it. Totally get it. But I do think we have to challenge ourselves. This stuff ain't easy, right? Being positive, it takes hard work. This outlook, I get it. I've got like perpetually rose-colored glasses. I'm never taking them off. But I'm telling you guys, collectively as a group, we can do things different. I mean, if you look around at our sport right now, I mean, think about this. I saw a post on social media earlier today, and it was talking about the first time that drag racing was ever written about in Hot Rod magazine. It was a story written by Wally Parks, the late great founder of the NHRA. That was in 1950. That's 72 years ago, right? How many times throughout the course of the last 70 some years have people said drag racing's dying, going away, it's on the decline? A lot. But guess what, baby? We're still here. We're still here. And in my opinion, living in the golden age of drag racing. So don't freak out just yet. Does it suck? It's always going to suck. It's always going to sting when one of these places, especially some of the iconic venues, close up, but we will build new ones. Have you met a drag racer? We're going to find a way to race. We will find a way. So I just want to remind everyone before we get all up in arms and lose our minds about the next, because they're coming. There's going to be more tracks closed, probably more this year. But again, there's over 400 of them open, right? There are from left, right, top to bottom. Fuel racing doing well. NHRA selling out races. PDRA doing well. NMCA, all these various alphabet soup of sanctions and series. New tracks being built. Front side, no prep. Back side, no prep. 28, 10, 5, Nostalgia, Nitro, Streetcar Takeover, Pro Mod, small tire racing. I mean, there's a gazillion places that drag racing is killing it, right? These are exciting times, friends. Exciting times. Don't let a little bit of negativity, a little bit of bad news that is unavoidable. It's going to happen, right? Let's just keep the faith here and remind one another that we got to be as eager and as enthusiastic about sharing the gospel and the good news that's happening in this sport as we are the bad. And I got to tell you, that kind of it's a tough segue because the hits continue. We lost racers over the weekend. We had a few racers pass away behind the wheel from injuries sustained on the racetrack. And these things never get easy, never going to get easier. But I'm reminded in these tough moments how incredible this racing community is. And it's another thing to celebrate. It's an absolute tragedy losing a racer. It's an inherently dangerous sport. I believe we've all accepted that. I've talked a lot right here on this program about how I think the thing that we don't talk about enough is the courage required to go drag racing, especially as these cars get quicker and quicker and faster and faster. And those quick and fast cars exist in varying spaces now. I mean, it's not unusual to see a twin turbo Hemi at a no prep race, right? On the back of a track somewhere, racing toward the starting line. Cars have gotten fast. The equipment has gotten extremely serious. And I don't want us as a group to sleep on the courage that exists in this community. It's something for me to aspire to. I think it's an incredible thing. I think about what these men and women do every weekend, testing throughout the week, various conditions, various moments in their life, outside pressures, work pressures, business pressures, still strap in and do the deal. And I think about all the safety innovations that these incidents have birthed, if you will. No matter how much we try, the sport's a touch reactionary. So we typically have something bad happen and we go to work figuring out how to make sure it never happens again. But I as sad as these moments are, I do think the silver lining is the outpouring of love and support that exists in this community. Every time something like this happens, the GoFundMe, all the efforts that go in to taking care of our own. I'm reminded of every personal experience that I've had with a car crash, a racing crash. I think of a couple of personal instances going back to a terrifying crash I witnessed in Indianapolis, Indiana several years ago. A Pro Mod car tumbling down through the grass, went over the wall. And I remember in wrapping my arm around the driver's wife. She ran to me. It was a weird moment. And I see that happen all the time, right? You see all these other men and women that are either deeply involved, loosely connected, whatever, trying to offer their love, support, a shoulder to cry on, to pray with, whatever is required. This is a group of people that rally around one another in times of need. And sometimes I think these tragedies exist for a reason. It's hard to say that, especially when they're so fresh. But they serve as a reminder of, if nothing else, of how lucky we are to operate in this community where, a car gets crashed and guess what? There's a line of people, other racers at that man or woman's pit helping load up a crashed car. And if you've ever loaded up a crashed race car, the dejecting, the totally horrible experience that actually is. And I want to tell you guys that every day I wake up excited and proud and happy to be a part of this community. It's funny. I'm a touch obsessed with it. I watch racing on my phone. I play racing video games. I talk to racers. My friends are racers. Most of my life revolves around, when it's not my wife and my kids, it's drag racing. And I wouldn't have it any other way. And I actually sometimes meet people that don't have a community like this that they're part of. And I kind of feel bad for them, you know? But then I start to think, I don't know if it's that or if we're just that lucky, right? Like, I don't think this exists in a lot of other communities. I don't think this type of family environment that spans like all these different interests, all these different locations. I mean, worldwide, drag racing brings us all together, right? Strap the helmet on, put the fire suit on, black, white, brown, yellow, purple, every race, creed, color. We are brothers and sisters in arms. And I didn't mean for this to go on as long as it did, but when these tough times happens, I think we just have to remember that there's a ton of great stuff happening in the sport of drag racing. There are tracks being built, races being put on. I mean, we announced some new, there's big stuff coming, lots of big stuff coming. And I've never personally, I've been around drag racing my entire life, almost 40 years. I've worked in this sport since I was in my teens, right? Some way, somehow. Been in business here with Drag Illustrated for almost 20 years now. And personally, I've never seen a time more exciting than right now. That's just me. And without any further ado, let's talk a little drag racing, guys. I want to introduce, we got back in the house. Missed him for a minute. My dear friend, Mike Carpenter, COO, here at Drag Illustrated. And of course, the one, the only, JT Murder Tundra Hudson. What's up, buddy?
Well, that was our show today. I hope you guys enjoyed the Wes Buck show earlier today. I'm wiping my tears.
I'm
right
all
now.
sentimental now. I was like,
I think JT was playing some music there.
We might to go to some like dance music, pop or something to get going here.
Dude, this is a group of people that every once in a while has to have their shoulders. Like, did your dad ever grab your shoulders? Your dad ever give you a shoulder grabbing talk?
Oh, yeah.
There was a few times in my life.
Like a good thing or bad?
Like a good thing.
Oh,
like
no.
Yeah, bad. No, they were all bad. I'm saying that in retrospect, they were good. In the moment, very bad. But sometimes you need someone to tell you how to feel and how things actually are and how lucky we all are. Like, I don't mean to go on this tirade. I really don't. But if I see somebody, like, you can't complain about a racetrack at this point in time. There are plenty of them doing things that are stupid, I'm sure. But like, now's not the time, man. We need to talk about all the good stuff going on. But again, JC, what's it you always joke? Like, if you work in food service and you get a $2 tip, I mean, you cannot wait to get back to your phone to nuke that person online. Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, that's just the world we live in. And I know that I'm asking this group of people to like defy what we do as humans. But it can be done.
Everything's changed, you know, like for your tip, for instance, you know, like people expect a tip regardless of service. So,
or regardless of what you're doing, everything is
absolutely. Yeah. Like, you're supposed to tip everybody now or whatever. I don't get it, but do
you guys tip on takeout?
But they want they've got that little pad they flip around 20%. For you, but that's just the world we live in now. And it's like, it used to be your tip was based on your service, right? I mean, like if you gave really good service to a table or something, then you get a good tip. And nowadays, like you could get the shittiest service in the world and they still expect this big ass tip because of what you spent at that table, you know, even though you're awful. But you know, everything's different and things are going to close and things are going to open. You know, we talked about that before, that you know, your favorite place you go eat, your favorite bar, your car lot that you buy your vehicles from, you know, they come and go. Like one closes, one opens. I mean, it's just life, man. I mean, it's just how
I really do think that's accurate. I mean, I was thinking about that when I was reading Freiberger's social post this morning. It's like, dude, we've been drag racing in an organized fashion since the early 50s, right? How many different crises have we faced as a country, right? Wars, energy crisis, political strife. I mean, all sorts of things have come along that one would think, or people were quick to forecast as the end. This is it. We're never going to make it through this one. I mean, 5-6 years ago, to be honest, I think people were pretty convinced that like if we were going to be racing top fuel cars, then things were going to be running on chlorophyll. You know, like, you know, we're not burning nitro anymore. We're not, you know, the race gas is going to be impossible to get. But I mean, look, I mean, there's still plenty of places all over the country you can go get like 100 octane at the pump. You can make 40,000 horsepower on E85 now. Like, it's just these things. We found solutions. Problems arise. We find ways as racers to solve them. And again, I don't care if they bulldoze every drag strip in America tomorrow. Obviously, I don't want that to happen, but drag racers will find a way to drag race. Don't even wonder for a second. They will find a way. Every low traffic airport in the country would be purchased or a deal would be made. I mean, they will find a way. We will find a way to race. So I urge you, take a deep breath, buddy. The tracks are going to be open this weekend. Enjoy the ones you have, and especially the ones that are in prime real estate. We can't hate these people.
Yeah, that's
we
the
can't
thing.
bag on them. You know,
somebody came to your property with an offer you can't refuse, with property values the way they are right now, you know, are you going to make the same decision that these guys do? And running a drag strip is not easy, and you have to be dedicated to turn a profit and to make that make sense. So when someone like Atco, New Jersey, in a prime area like that in the Northeast, it's going to happen. And as the country continues to expand into rural areas, most drag strips are built. I always like to joke, they find the area where there's no cell phone coverage, and that's where you build a drag strip. And slowly the expansion's coming for all this stuff. So it's just a growth thing, and it's where we are economically.
Here's another thing too, is don't get mad at a promoter or track if they are doing it right and they're holding great events and they're making some money. Like, they're not going to keep holding these races if they're not making money. So don't sit down in the pits with your buddies and flip out your phone and get the calculator out and start figuring out what the entry fee was and what they're paying out, because you haven't calculated in all those people that are working that thing, the people in the booth that's announcing, all the promotion that went into it, the billboard,
every single thing,
the ads, everything.
And listen, everybody, it's all relative. It's all relative, you know, and because I don't want any racer to think like to hear, you're right, but it's like everybody's invested, right? Absolutely. We're all upside down and on fire in this deal for the most part. When it comes to a racing investment, very few of them make sense. And to your point, though, we need, the most important thing in this space is healthy promoter. Like, if there's no profit motive for a promoter, there's no reason to do this. Like, you've got to really love drag racing to beat your head against the wall, trying to round up the sponsorship and round up the interest and round up all the things that are required to throw a successful race or successful event. To do all that as like the function of a church, it's just not. I mean, it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So you're right. I mean, I think we need to, when we have successful promoters in our sport, they shouldn't immediately become vilified, right? They shouldn't immediately become bad guys because they got in the black. Because God only, couple things, it can rain next year, right? Or it's probably rained 6 years prior, and they've taken an L, and kept chasing it for the hopes of one day having it, the stars and moon align, and having a successful endeavor. And this is something, kind of closing notes on this as we get into some race coverage and weekend wrap up stuff. But I got to say, the other thing, we're really focused as a sport on like how we can get new people here, right? How do we get new folks involved in drag racing? I got to tell you, I think we need to be equally focused on keeping the people here. Because a lot of these tracks that go away, they're generational deals, right? The grandpa or the great grandpa built a facility, right? Super passionate about drag racing, probably a mechanic or a car guy, right? And he is building his own field of dreams there. It is handed down to his son, who's passionate about drag racing, but more than likely a smidge less, right? I mean, he's watched his father burn himself up trying to keep this track going, been fought with every racer under the sun. And it's just like, it's reduced. That passion and enthusiasm is reduced through the generations, it would seem. And then by the time it gets to the third generation, they've seen marriages nuked over the racetrack. They've seen all sorts of fights. They've seen all sorts of controversies. They've had crashes. They've had all these things, all these bumps in the road. It's pretty easy when Joe investment banker shows up and says, "Hey man, Amazon wants to buy your spot. They'll give you all the money. What's your thought?" I mean, they're going to bounce. And we can't fault them for that. But I tell you what, man, if we celebrated these generational endeavors and maybe we're a little more loud and proud about the fact, I mean, how many race teams and racers are second, third, fourth generation racers? It's in their blood for years and years and years. That's an awesome thing that we need to talk about more and more and more, because that's another rare thing that happens in our sport that I don't think happens everywhere. I mean, it's a big deal that LeBron James' son is headed to the NBA, right? like in quick succession behind him. Like that's a big deal. It's a huge storyline, right? Shut up. But like, well, to your point, Michael Jordan's kid ain't in the NBA. Right? You know what I'm saying? It's a big deal whenever a superstar athlete's son appears to be on the same trajectory. That happens in our sport all the time, right? Grandpa was a great racer. Dad's a great racer. Junior's a great racer. His kids are great racers. I mean, that is a really special thing that exists in our sport. But sometimes I think we get so wrapped up in trying to get, you know, the 14-year-old kid staring at his iPad to go to the drag strip and become a mechanic. I mean, the pathway to caring about cars is different than it was when we were kids. Shit's hard to work on. It's all electronic, computer controlled. Holy moly. It's not as simple as it once was, yanking a motor out, you know, under the tree next to the garage. It's just not that simple.
You know, when we were younger, we didn't have all the iPad stuff and the iPad games and this and that, or I didn't at least. And so you're so bored at home that you literally, you know, you only had like 3 channels and only one that came in good. So you're so bored that you went out and you wanted to help work on things, and you did learn that stuff. You know, I think,
and I think kids today,
I noticed myself doing it with my own kids. Like, you know, I'm not just doing it instead of making them come out and doing it with me. So.
Oh, same. I mean, and I think about that a lot, but like my son, I've said this before, you know, Maxwell, he's not like a gearhead by nature, you know, and I wasn't really either when I was young. You know, my brother was super mechanically inclined, and welding, everything we got was torn apart immediately and rebuilt. But it was like, that was a really, 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 you know, special time. Now today, like my son, he's getting into cars and getting into racing and stuff because of electronics, because of gaming, right? Because he plays Formula One, and now he watches Formula One shows, and now he wants to go to Formula One races, and now he identifies every car on the road. I mean, it's a different process today. We'll get him there. We'll get him there. But man, great start to the show. I don't know where Mr. Torrance is. I'm looking in the green room. So JT, you may dip out and shoot a text. We may need to send a smoke signal or something to get the most recent winner on the NHRA National Event Trail on the show. Guys, where do you want to start, Mike? I mean,
well, plenty to talk about.
Jeez Louise.
Besides Torrance. So, I mean, I guess we could probably dive into the thing that caught most everyone's attention outside of the results on the track. And that was the deal between J.R. Todd and Alex Laughlin. Lots of different takes on this. And I've seen a few posted online, kind of to your point of the good news versus the bad news. Yeah. And how and we can recap the whole story, but how we always say we want more rivals. We want characters. We want controversy. Look at NASCAR, which NASCAR had their own situation this weekend with Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson kind of doing the same thing. Mm-hmm. How much of that we're missing in the sport, and how much the sport was built on that, you know, the snake and mongoose and you know, all the rivals. And then when we kind of get one brewed up, then everyone starts to run for the hills, or, you know, say we don't need that in the sport, things like that. What's your take on this as far as what went down and the reaction to it, and how polarizing it seems to have been?
Well, man, where to start? So for those that don't, you know, maybe been living under a rock, over the weekend, we had a little dust up between NHRA funny car drivers, JR Todd, driver of the DHL Toyota under the Coletta Motorsports banner.
Get that right.
Get that right. Right shipping company. I'm a big DHL guy because I like yellow, you know, I like yellow cars, yellow stuff. Not a banana guy. Just in case anybody was wondering, not a banana guy, but in a dust up with newcomer to the Fuel Funny Car ranks, Alex Laughlin, no stranger to racing cars, relative newcomer to the funny car ranks though. And after a social post where Alex referred to a different shipping company and JR and blah, 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 who he had to race in the first round, I think JR was not thrilled with it. And on the top end, after a first round win, which was a real calamity of a situation, one car wouldn't start, JR's car wouldn't start, something wrong with the starter or batteries, whatever, wouldn't whirl over.
Then something was wrong with the backup.
Right. So then Hagen's team comes over, different starter, different battery, gets the car fired up. Meanwhile, Alex's car, who Jim Dunn Racing, they always kind of have this very strategic program of waiting for the other car to fire, do their burnout, because Jim Dunn Racing conserve parts, conserve resources, does short burnouts, and kind of has an accelerated pre-race routine, if you will. anyways, Alex Laughlin cars fires quickly. Some other issue comes awry. Something's wrong. They shut it off. JR takes a single to the win. And on the top end,
Alex got his car moving. I don't know what the issue was. I never heard from Alex what the problem was, but Alex's car started to move toward the beams. Then the way the angle was on the NHRA TV, then you hear JR Todd's car take off. So it was just a real mess.
And on the top end, JR proceeds to call Alex Laughlin a clown. And shit got salty on the internets. People it was a whole scene. And I'm with you, man. I think we, our next guest, or our first guest, I guess, of the day has experienced this a lot, because it would seem that the fanfare asks for more dust-ups and more rivalry and more emotion and more opinion. But then when they get it, we quickly get up in arms, and all of a sudden it's about role models and setting an example. And I've said this a lot, but I stand by it here today. I think it's my responsibility as a parent to be a role model for my kids, right? It's my responsibility to teach them right from wrong, not J.R. Todd's, not the man on TV. I understand that those folks have influence, don't get me wrong, but I do think we get a little over the top with our expectations of these people who are in the heat of battle, who we build up into larger than life characters, and then expect them to act like church mice or something in the midst of these moments. So I think
that played into it a lot. You could hear.
Let's bring on
JR's voice. Well, you could hear JR's voice. He was amped up. Like, when you get out of one of these things, the adrenaline's pumping. You can almost like feel your heart in your chest and in your throat. And I feel like that's what he was going through, because he went through and said, hey, we didn't get to make the run, like side by side. Jim Dunn's a legend. Then right into Alex is a clown. So it was like this big swing from, man, hate that we didn't get to race, and I respect those guys, to that guy needs to keep his mouth shut and he's a clown. And it was pretty wild.
It was wild. And like I said, I'm here for it, man. I think that drag racing needs all the attitude and energy and excitement that it can get. These things add, not detract. Let's bring on our first guest. I mean, we can talk about obviously everything going on at the Northwest Nationals. Fantastic. Another incredible race for the NHRA. Steve Torrance getting back in the winner's circle. We're joined by him right now. What's up? The man, the myth, the legend, one of the best to ever do it. Champ, the one, the only Steve Torrance. What's up, buddy?
What's up, guys? How you doing?
What's up, Steve?
Swinging and ducking, big dog. Oh, dude, does that hat say Torrance?
Hey, I just got this in the mail. I'll bring you one.
Will you? Okay.
Yeah, I got a whole
I want one
of them that came in today.
You got a bunch of good-looking hats.
I'll bring a few for you guys. Wes, you got to make sure you bring them.
I will. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
You get him to me, and I'll get him to JT and Mike. You heard it here, folks. I'm bound to screw this up. They're gonna be in my. I'll have one.
Oh yeah.
It'll be in my closet. Y'all guys will have to come to Texas to get them. So, well, hey man, congratulations. I don't want to. I mean, we've been forecasting this for a while, Steve. That it was only a matter of time. I'm just curious, considering all the winning you've done. This dry spell that you've been on, and it's been a big talked about thing, right? No one's gonna let you Yeah, you're not gonna forget that you haven't won in a minute. But did it feel? I mean, I would really like for you to tell us what the reaction was like when you got away from the cameras, like when you got back to the pit with your boys, the guys you go to battle with. What was it like in the aftermath? We saw it unfold, and we you're an incredible ambassador for our sport, Steve. And you in my opinion, you do the right things, say the right things. But whenever you got back with your crew, what was that moment like?
Hey, so let's just go back real quick. I have been accused of not being a good role model as well. So we'll get on that, because I've been listening to you guys, and that's something I want to talk about, because I don't really know what the whole story, but I think it's hilarious. So we need to let it go.
Oh no,
man! As far as getting back, do what?
No, he's there.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Okay, I lost you for a second. Okay. Anyways, there's got to be more to that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a lot more to it, and I'm dying to hear it and talk about it. But as far as when we won the race, man, it was just a sense of relief. Okay, we know we can win. We've been answering these questions for 17 races now of what's it going to take to win? How do you overcome not winning? What about the Capco boys? Have you lost your drive? Have you lost it because you're a dad now? I mean, all kinds of crap. Hell no. I want to win as as much or more than I ever have. I don't want my little girl to think, oh, my dad, he used to be good. Now he sucks. So, I mean, Wes, you know me. You guys know me. I'm driven. I want to win, and it's been very frustrating to know what we had, know what we're changing, what we're trying to accomplish, and it hasn't come together yet. And finally, I have that feeling, that sense of we're there. We're almost to where we need to be, but the car's there. I need to really step my game up, do my job, and get back in this thing. And with that being said, obviously we're not as bad as what we appear to be, because we've only won one race and we're leading the points. So either we don't suck as bad as we thought we did, or these guys are not kicking our butt as bad as we thought they were. And so that's kind of where it was at. And we just sat back. It's comical. My guys, I got a picture. They were all sitting in lawn chairs in the pit, having a beer, just relaxing. So it was same for them too, just some relief. And I don't have to answer the question anymore. When are you going to win?
I think that was one of the most, like, in that we've written stories about it. It's a frequently discussed topic on this show, because I do think it's interesting. It's easy. I'm not going to say none of this shit's easy. Let's be honest. But racing from out front or protecting a lead is a unique challenge, right? I mean, because when you're an underdog and no one expects you to do anything, it's easy for other teams to take you lightly, go up there and lay one up, make a safe run, try not to red light, those type of things. But when you're Steve Torrance, everybody goes up there with, looking to give you the best shot they're going to give anybody, right? You've got a target on your back. Yeah. Right. That same hat, the target was in the logo, right?
Yeah.
It's on your back. It's on your back.
It also
because everybody wants
perception.
to beat you. Yeah.
Talking about the fact that now you're leading the points after just one race. The way you hear everyone talk, you would think that you're out of the top 10 or something. And so it's this perception it's created, from your championships of, well, if this guy's not winning, I mean, he must just be off the map, but you're right there.
and again, so dominant, for so long. Right.
Well,
I mean, yeah.
And that's, I talked to someone yesterday and I was like, obviously we have just set the bar so high for what we've been, able to accomplish, that if you go 2 or 3 races without winning, oh shit, something's wrong with them Capco boys. They fell off. Well, no, I mean, we've been to the semis. We runnered up a couple races, and man, I'll tell you, there's nothing that sucks worse than runnering up at a race. You got all the same work as the guy that won put in. You just don't win. And it's been rough, but I'll tell you, it's something that has taught me persistency, and just like I said when we won, you got to have faith in the guys that took you to where you're at. And we didn't win 4 championships by just luck and skating by. We won them dominant, and that's where we need to get back to. But we did the same thing for 5 years. It's time to evolve. It's time to try to get better and try to outrun people. Not just count on being consistent and being right there with them and beat them on a hole shot or let them mess up. You got to outrun them now, because there's too many cars that have brought a bigger bat to the game. And so
let's talk about that, because that's something that also didn't get talked about very much during this little bit of a dry spell. 17 races, as you mentioned. I think it really speaks to the gap, right? I mean, there was a big gap that the Capco gang had on everybody else for a long time. And we don't talk about how it took years and years for this group of people to finally catch you and be a problem. So what has that been? I mean, I hear it talked about a lot, like parts availability, trying new things, tune-up changes, the carousel of people.
Yeah, Tony Schumacher brought that around. And I actually heard Mike Miscellaneous bring that up in an interview this weekend, talking about, hey, we've been testing all year. We just haven't really admitted it. And now we finally gotten to what's working. So, yeah, you're hearing a lot of that.
Well, man, I don't know. I've used that excuse for a year and a half. It was just because we weren't winning. Yeah, I mean, that's hitting the nail on the head. There's a lot of issues that have come up since COVID. One being crew guys, just getting the good people and keeping them, because a lot of guys figured out, I don't have to travel 24 weeks a year to make the same money, and I get to sleep in my own bed and stay at home with my family. hell with going racing. And so like that's been an issue. That's one of the reasons that we don't have Billy out there right now is just we don't have a team that we feel like we can put out there and be as competitive as we need to be, and somebody to run it and a lot of things. So there's a lot of obstacles that you're up against, getting parts, getting people, trying things. We all say it and really it's the truth, but it doesn't matter till the last 6. But damn, it feels good to win some of those first 18, the first 16 or whatever. And it's just good for morale and the whole team. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I feel like Richard has always had a really good hot weather tune-up. We didn't have it last year, but we've had it a lot in the years past. And that's where finesse comes in. And then at the end of the year in the fall, when it's time to go out there, and like I said, go to the starting line with that big bat and swing. That's where Grubnick has had us. That's where he's outrun us, and that's where he dominated last year. And we need to be able to stand up and go toe-to-toe with him, and I feel like we're finally at that point.
Awesome. It's a cool. I'm curious, what is a guy? So one of the things that for the longest time it was a huge advantage, or it was a huge perceived advantage, to field more than one car. In this day and age, with crew members being so hard to find and good crew members being difficult, tough to secure commodity, it's perhaps an advantage to just have one to mess with, right? One race car to worry about. Well, you lack data, but you're able to focus your efforts. I'm just curious, do you believe that could be argued?
Well, yeah, because take a look back and look at the multi-car teams, how the dynamic of that really works, and being on the inside of it. How much are you going to share, or do you want to share with your competitor? Because at the end of the day, we're all racing for a championship. And if I'm Antron, or I'm Steve, and Antron's my teammate, and he's not really doing that good, but he's not doing that bad, and we're doing pretty good, I'm not wanting to go over there and say, hey, this is what's wrong with your car. This is what we're doing. I'm racing that guy. I want to beat that guy. And that's not from a driver perspective. That's from a crew chief, an assistant crew chief, a crew guy, a crew member, whatever, because their bonus depends on what their car does, not what the teammate's car does. And so, I've seen how this unfolds, and it doesn't always work out like everybody so-called says it does. We're teammates and we work together. That's a lot of BS. They're focusing on themselves, and just like they should be, and the next guy as well. So I think that the evolution of being teammates has kind of run its course. I don't think that that's exactly how it goes, and sharing data and all that. I mean, maybe in pro stock on the elite team because there's 8 of them, but there's not a whole lot of 2-car top fuel teams or funny car teams out there that one of them isn't the primary.
And I mean, I think that it can still be argued, that dynamic exists in a lot of places, man. I mean, there's, and there's nothing wrong with that. No shame in that. I'm curious, like, is there one of the things that I experienced, like helping with a pro mod team a long, long time ago, is that crew chiefs in this day and age were oftentimes a little guarded, and they're a little weary of bringing new people into the fold, because what sometimes and oftentimes happens is they come in and they learn some of those things that the other teams they've been involved with were maybe missing, right? Maybe they learn a little bit of winning culture. Maybe they learn a couple of things that, like, oh, we've never done that and we need to be doing that. And then they are quick to go find another job where they've been able to use that information and that experience they gained working under Hoagie for a year and go earn themselves a little bit better paying gigs somewhere else. How much of that is a challenge today?
I lost you there on the last part. How much of that is what?
How much of that is a challenge today? Like, once you get good help, keeping them here and not having them defect to go try to be a car chief or kind of move up the ladder elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that's probably not as much right now because there's not as many teams and team owners, but that's definitely been a prevalent challenge in the past, where you bring a guy in, you pay a guy, he builds his arsenal of tune-up, and kind of gets a little more valuable stock in himself, somebody comes and grabs him. And, we try to create a culture amongst our race team where not only do they get paid well, but they get treated well, and they want to be there. Because you can pay for a lot of things, but you cannot pay for loyalty. And I've had the same team, excluding a couple guys, since 2013. And I know that they have had offers to go to other places. I know they've had offers for more money, but they're just loyal to us, to my family, to Torrance Racing, and to that team. Because at the end of the day, they spend more time together than they do with their own families. And it's not always about the almighty dollar. I mean, if you feel appreciated and you feel taken care of, and you like where you're at and you like racing with the people you race with, it's entirely too much work to do what they do and not enjoy it.
It's
And
like
I see
building
that.
family.
Yeah.
Like,
And I
hanging with
see
your buds.
that. Yeah, I see that with a lot of other teams, that the guys are just there for the job, and they don't take pride in the way the race car runs. They don't take pride in the trucks and trailers that they drive. They don't, it's just a job to them. And Wes, you can attest to this. When you roll into my pit, everything over there looks brand new, clean, taken care of. And we set a standard of what we expect, but they maintain it on their own. Those guys appreciate having new trucks, new trailers, new cars. And we try to keep them in new equipment, but they take care of what it is. And so you can roll that out and have a nice operation. It doesn't cost anything to be clean,
100%, man. I mean, and it's those little bitty things, and you create that over time. And I think that there are times, we've talked a lot on the show about patience being required for so many things in life. But one of them is building that community or building that tribe, right? A group of guys and gals that are swimming in the same direction, share a common goal, and will go the extra mile or do the thing that's not on their job description, if that's what's required to get to the next one. So no, it's very interesting, because I do think that if there's anything that speaks to, that's something we're really proud of here. Very little turnover at Drag Illustrated. Almost 20 years we've been doing this, and I mean, I can think of like a couple people that aren't here that haven't been here since I jokingly refer to them as lifers.
Yeah.
Right? People, you come into the fold here and you're never leaving. And it's something I'm really proud of. And I think it speaks a lot about your program, Steve. One of the things that we can't not talk about this. So it was highly publicized and big fodder on the internet over the weekend. So let's go back to the J.R. Todd, Alex Laughlin drama. Is this fun to watch, like unfold, especially when you're not involved in it? Like, it's in your space, it's happening in your neighborhood, but you're just getting to watch from like out through your blinds, Yeah,
it's 100% better when I'm not involved. I'm typically the guy that somehow gets involved. Everybody hates me. Oh, Torrance ran his head. He shouldn't be saying this. He's a short, ball-headed, howdy-doody looking guy. And I'm like, man, okay.
I don't even know you. We've never met.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw the guys that booed me all weekend. They've been there for like 3 years. They boo me every round, every year in Seattle. And finally this year,
awesome.
Oh, it really was awesome. So I was waving. I blew them kisses. I invited them to have a beer in the winter circle, and they showed up.
Did they really?
And we talked for 30 minutes, and they were some of the coolest guys ever. They're huge. I'm glad that we became friends. But yeah, it was fun. But I missed the whole JR Alex debacle, whatever's going on, which I know, like, JR doesn't have a hard time saying what's on his mind. He'll tell you how he thinks, what he feels, whatever. And I mean, I don't know Alex very well either, but he seems to talk a lot of smack. And, sometimes, I mean, I'll probably get a lot of crap for this, but sometimes you got to pay your dues and actually have some validity before you start talking trash. And so I'll just leave that at that. But what was said? What was going on? Somebody got called a clown, and
yeah. So
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing, and Alex does it. We've given Alex a lot of credit. He does a great job with his social media. But he's in a unique space, and we talk about this a lot internally. Is he is one of the very few people out here that actually earn their living racing. Like, that's his job. So he has the time and the bandwidth or whatever to go do a bunch of videos and do all that stuff because he doesn't have a business that he's trying to run through the week, which is the case most of our pro level racers face right now. And we're going to change that. We're going to create an environment where they can earn a living racing at some point in the future. But for the time being, I think that Alex does a great job on his social, and he just happened to put on Instagram that he was facing the yellow FedEx car in the first round tomorrow.
And there's
right?
debate whether that was intentional or not. He's
Lots of internal debate here at Drag Illustrated.
Wes.
I gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I don't-
Mike came in with the 100% intentional.
Okay,
But-
hold on. I gotta make sure that.
Uh-oh, did we lose him? Mike, are you sticking with 100%
Yeah.
intentional?
Yeah, just I feel like Alex slid that in there, knowing that it was gonna ruffle some feathers, but it was just so like benign,
Okay.
that it would just
There we got you
slide
back.
it in there. There
You
you
got
go.
me back.
I didn't think he did, but
Am I back? You got
Yeah,
me?
you're
you're
back.
back.
You're back.
You're
You're back.
back.
Okay, so who in this picture here is debating on whether that was intentional or not?
Mike was
It-
saying it was intentional.
I
was
say
saying
it was
wasn't.
intentional.
Intentional, right here. That's what I agree.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, FedEx and DHL, I mean, it's not the same colors. Like, we're not on the same planet. So, and there's no way you can't know it's the DHL.
Well,
car, right?
And to back up me and Steve's argument, when someone called him out on it, he didn't like go edit it or fix it. He just kind of put like a smiley face and like, "Oops, my bad," or something. Like,
yeah,
if you
true,
know
true.
Alex, that's
Yeah, I think he can be a little lippy, which I mean, so can I. So more power to him. But
And he's raced in so many different spaces too. So it's like he has to keep earning these stripes. Like goes drag radio racing. Oh, he's the outsider, right?
right.
Pro stock, and then
yeah.
pro
And most
mod,
people,
and-
I don't
yeah,
think
and then
most people don't realize that he's
Top
won.
Fuel.
He's won Lights Out, the biggest drag radial race. He's won our race in Orlando a couple years ago in Pro Mod, the biggest pro mod race of the year. So he's won some big races, but because he jumps to these other things, and he had the Street Outlaws situation, the Gas Monkey deal, that whole thing, he kind of like JT. That's a good point. He kind of has to keep earning his stripes. So I think that's where we're at with him right
Yeah.
now.
And I mean, I think that, and he is, and I think even he would accept that. I mean, and it's tough because, and I'm experiencing this personally, and Richard Freeman and I've had this conversation, and it's weird, but there's levels to this shit, right? Like, and Steve and I have talked about this because that Top Fuel funny car deal is a different world than any of the rest. And that's not a shot at anybody, but it's just a different animal. And you do, I think you've kind of I think people are held to a little bit of a different standard over there. And you got to be easy, and apparently J.R. Todd did not take kindly to that. And like I said, and like we discussed earlier, climbed out of the car after E1 and said that clown driving that car needs to keep his mouth shut. And boy, did it!
But it was an interesting sequence of events though, because it wasn't like a great race, whole shot win, side by side or anything. And it was this deal where, honestly, not knowing what was about to happen, you would expect JR to get out and go, "Yeah, man, that was a calamity. We had this problem, that problem. Those guys waited on us, and we got it fixed. And I hate that." Then they had problems, but whatever. And that's kind of the direction he was going. But then it's like he couldn't help himself. He was too fired up, or like he had this in the barrel ready to go, and he's like, "I got to shoot it." And he said he had to just throw it in there at the end. The clown.
And then Alex took it, and then just on social media. Did you see the video he did?
No, I hadn't seen it.
Between me, you, and a fence post or whatever. You didn't see that one?
No,
I've got it in here. We can watch it together.
No, it's too long.
It's
too long.
Yeah.
It's 4 minutes long.
Yeah, it was his response on social. But anyway, it was a wild deal, man. If you watch it in real time from a fan perspective, it was wild.
I think it's good. I mean, I really do. I think that I described what I believe to be the most incredible group of people that exists, and that's the racing community, right? And I do think that when shit gets bad and things go wrong, we're all there for one another. But like, we're fierce competitors, are we not? You know what I mean? Like, we have to, like, it's got to be okay. We don't need everybody holding hands and singing Kumbaya on the big end. We don't. That's not good. We do not need that.
I completely agree. And I mean, I get chastised for a lot of things I say and do, but I completely agree. I didn't show up to lose. I showed up only to win. And I can be your friend in a little bit, but when I get in that race car, I'm there to kick your ass. And when I get out, I'm there to kick your ass mode, because it's really difficult to go from riding a fire-breathing dragon 330 miles an hour, absolute 100% focus for that time to make sure you do your job, and talking yourself into believing you're 15-foot tall, bulletproof, and there to just wreak havoc on everything, and then get out and somebody sticks a microphone in your face and goes, "Hey, Steve, how did that feel?" What? I mean, like,
Yeah.
That's where that loaded
awesome.
gun. That's where the loaded gun comes in, because that gun's already loaded.
Yeah.
Before it ever starts, that bullet's already in the gun, and so then you got to do your obligatory thank you, be nice, be cordial, shake the baby, kiss the hands, and then that bullet's getting fired.
Yeah. It's like, especially if you got a little bit of time, it's like, you know what? I got one more thing I want to talk about.
And by the way, that clown needs to keep his mouth shut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it was, man. It was
like
that you could hear it in his voice. And like another example of that, do you remember the Warren Johnson, Scott Jeffrey on staging battle in Houston? And when you get out, if you listen to Warren,
his voice is trembling.
He's trembling. And that is not, he's not about to cry or anything, but that's the adrenaline. He was just, you're pumped up, especially in that kind of situation. So if you'd have talked to JR 10 minutes later, or Warren in that case, all those years ago, probably would have never said that.
Yeah. But when you get out and that's on your mind, and then there's that just raw emotion, it's very difficult to contain. And there are some that have mastered it well. Unlike myself, I have not, but I'm better than I once was. So,
I think that's what makes you. I think if you take that away, I feel like we're losing something there. I think that we want that. We need that.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I agree. You're never gonna get any version of me but the real version of me. But there has been some times that I should have kept these lips a little bit more closed, or these hands a little bit to myself. But look at Tony Stewart, one of the most dominant, successful NASCAR, IndyCar. I mean, the guy wins in everything. The guy's a hothead. The guy's a badass, and he tells you exactly how he feels. And there's two people, ones that love him and ones that hate him.
Yep.
And you're gonna have that.
John
Force. Yes. John Force has been around. He's 116 years old, and he's kicked people's butt for years. There's people that love him and people that hate him.
Yeah. I mean, the home's divided over that guy, and that's just the way you want it. And I tell you, and that's part of our sport. I feel part of what has to change is we have to create an environment for you guys where there's either enough money up for grabs or enough sponsorship opportunity, whatever it is, fertile enough soil that it's worth it. Because what I think happens is guys such as yourself, and I'm just speculating here, but I thought about how I would feel. If I'm a racer and I'm out here running NHRA Top Fuel, right, and I'm spending my own money to do it, right, don't have, Nabisco on the side of the car or whatever, it seems to me like it's a lot to ask us, the community, the NHRA, everybody else, to ask you to go out here and be this bold character, this polarizing guy that some people are going to love and some people are going to hate, and not really benefit from it. Like Tony Stewart's made money on that personality of his every step of the way. Yep. Right. I mean, it's sold sponsorships for him. It's gotten endorsement deals for him. It's, everything. He has been able to open doors with this big personality and character. Whereas, the guy like yourself who's running a business through the week and, all these different operations going on. I mean, I don't think the incentive is there for you to stick your neck out. You know what I mean? Like, what do you care? You know what I mean? The things remain relatively stagnant. I mean, why is it your responsibility to be this huge circus promoter? I don't know that. I think somebody else should be doing that. I mean, maybe I might be shining a light on things to come. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hear people that all the time say, you know, I wish the Crapco boys would leave, and I don't want to see Steve Torrance. I hate that little short bastard, whatever. He ruins drag racing for me. Okay, well then we leave and we take 2 cars with us, and you're down to a 10-car field. How does that look for you too? I mean, we've invested a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of effort into this sport that we love and appreciate, and we want nothing more than to see it flourish. And to hear some stupid ass comment about, I wish that guy would never come back into our sport, that's the anti-fan. That's not the people that you want to support drag racing. You want somebody that, I hate the guy, but I like him there and I like to root against him. Not, I wish he would leave and never come back. I'm not watching on Fox, whatever, that may come on at 3:00 in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's just the complete opposite of what we're trying to do here.
I couldn't agree more, man. So as you kind of head forward in this journey, wrapping up the Western Swing, is this about the perfect time to catch your stride? I mean, we talk all the time about momentum. Here we are. Somehow it's the end of July. I don't know how that happened, but it is. It's here. We're not too terribly far away from, I mean, we're a month out from the U.S. Nationals, a month out from the start of the countdown. Is this the perfect time to get hot, Steve?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I feel really good about it. I feel like this is the time to get hot because you want to be really set in what's going on at Indy and roll into that countdown ready to go, loaded for bear, and have more than one bullet in that gun. And so that's where we're at. And I feel like now I'm so much more confident right now than I was at this point last year with the car, with what's going on, that we can go back out there and do what we did. I mean, I got a race car right now that's really close to just throwing down at any given time. And that's what we're going to have to do. And you know, there's going to be a point where we got to take that shot. We got to send those bullets down range, and I'm pretty damn close to being ready for it.
Do you think this, I mean, at the end of this season, is it going to be a low 60s? Like, I mean, are we going to see a little bit of an upping of the ante this fall? Do you suspect?
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know if we'll see any, like, another record set. Cause I don't even know what it is, 62 something, but, yeah, I mean, I think that you definitely will probably see definitely probably. I think that it's a very strong possibility that you're going to see the 300 mile an hour at the 8th be broken, this year, possibly sooner than later. I think that it's going to be a lot of 63, 64, 65 runs made during the countdown, just because we go to Reading every year and start that thing off, and you're in the mine shaft conditions, cool racetrack. I mean, usually if you don't go there with a big gun, you're going home.
Yeah.
So I think competition has stepped up because there's more people that can run those big numbers, and just nobody has been able to do it as consistently as Grubnick. But there's a lot of people working at it, and a lot of people taking those swings for the fence. I went 64 in testing, 337 in testing. We had some really good runs, but we haven't had those conditions to try to replicate them again. So that was career quick and mile per hour for me ever. So I'm excited to get into those conditions and just see where we stand.
I'm excited to see it shake out. I feel like I'm hearing more people, more drivers, more crew chiefs talk about power than ever before. Like, it just seems like that is way more a part of the conversation than it has been. And I think we see these things happen. I mean, it used to be like in Pro Modified, for instance, we would always joke that most of the cars are going out there making like an 80%, like if 100% is the best run, they're all making like 85% runs. There's quite a bit left on the table in refining and shock programs changing. I think we're kind of seeing that happen in fuel racing, where it's like everybody has reached this point and now it's evolved dramatically over the course of the last few years. I think you guys have driven the bus on a lot of that, just showing the way, showing what can be done. What do you make of, we saw the Coletta team. We've been all kind of waiting for that team to get legs, to do Alan Johnson things, right? What we expect from Alan Johnson, back-to-back semifinal round appearances, or maybe even back-to-back final round appearances.
First time in 60 races.
Yeah, but that one in Denver, my car quit, so I'm not going to give him credit for that one.
Okay, good. Are those some guys you're keeping an eye on? I mean, do you think that I'm
going to stir the pot a little bit and tell you that you haven't seen Alan Johnson things in quite a few years. I mean, you can go back to the last championship that would have been 17, and how dominant were they that year? They just really peaked out in the countdown, and we wrecked. So I'll leave that one up for discussion and get blasted about that. But yeah, Alan Johnson's Alan Johnson, and he's done a good job, but it's been a long time.
Well, you know what? It's an interesting thing because it is easy to there were so many years that it was the AJ show, right? And then not so much the case in 2023. And you make a very valid point. I think we're all kind of watching that through the lens of how it used to be. And yeah, Top Fuel is, I'm seeing a comment here. Top Fuel is wild right now. Funny Car 2. I mean, it really is a unique time. And I think it's an exciting time, right? To see this many good cars, this many good drivers, just this many great programs as a whole. Like what we lack in numbers, yeah, there may not be 700 of these things, but there are a slew of them that are really, really good. Steve, man, thank you so much for your time, as always, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you next week. That's going to be exciting.
That's going to be exciting.
I think that's going to be exciting.
And I will for sure see you.
Okay. Oh, great news. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for sharing, man. Well, hey, seriously, be safe this weekend. If you need anything, you let me know. And ladies and gentlemen, the man, the myth, the legend, champ, 4 times, Steve Torrance. What's up, buddy? Thank you. Be careful.
Hey, thank you, guys. Y'all have a great day. Adios.
Thanks, buddy. Man, I was thinking when we were talking to Steve about his testing runs, like 334 or 364 or 337, do you think that as many stats as we have in drag racing, you know what I mean? Like we've got all these numbers readily available. Sometimes I don't think they get talked about. Like the incrementals don't get talked about. I'm waiting for the NHRA's on television broadcast, TV broadcast. I think we should be talking about short times and incrementals and all that stuff a little bit more than we do.
You know, that is something like scoring. We've talked about that with Flo, how they're interested in maybe finding a way to bring that to the table or improve that. And that's something that is somewhat lacking compared to all the numbers, all the stats you see just flying up all over the screen on every sport, like the next gen stats that are in NFL now, where they, tell you how fast these guys are running, total distance they ran, and they just have all these crazy numbers. It is.
Yeah. Where's that at? Like, I know there's obviously
that we're a little bit behind on.
I want to talk more about that. So let's discuss that. But producers in my ear here, it's time for a script read. I want to remind everybody, ladies and gentlemen, that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Redline Synthetic Oils. Redline has a reputation with racers and hardcore enthusiasts for creating products that perform and protect better than any on the market, and they've been doing it since 1979. Whether it's your race car, your tow rig, your motorcycle, or your lawnmower, when you think about lubricants, you need to think about Redline. For more information, log on to redlineoil.com. Strong supporter of our guest, Steve Torrance and the Capco boys. I was thinking about this over the weekend, Mike, watching axe throwing. This is like popping off, bro. Like it's popping off in a big way. And I'm watching it, and it's kind of funny because it's like not complicated, really. Like you're going to throw the axe, or though this was knife throwing. Excuse me. I was watching knife.
You ever tried to throw an axe? I haven't done it yet, but I think it's harder than it looks. Right?
Way harder than it looks.
To get it to rotate.
Way harder.
That's what we did for fun when we were kids around here.
But hearing them talk about this,
no, not like
the commentators,
the axe throwing places you can go to now, like drink beer,
we
throw axes. Like this doesn't seem like a great idea, man. It's like get hammered
them left and right.
Well, you don't want anybody. You don't want anybody down the lane there when you throw it.
No.
I'm surprised you don't hear about more accidents happening. in these situations.
They probably just don't want us to hear about them. It's a global conspiracy. Don't let people know how many people get hurt at these axe throwing ranges. But my point is that you're throwing these knives and they're trying to talk about it. Like the commentators, God bless them. They're like, well, that looked like a good throw. You know, and I'm like, based on what?
Like a little bit of over rotation, but
yeah, I mean, they're trying to discuss it. Like, well, he's aiming for that red dot. Okay, let's hold our breath. Oh, he hit the black dot, ladies and gentlemen. He has hit the black dot. That's a double down dot.
Golf is like that, man. I was watching the Open this weekend, and they got like the slow-mo profile deal where they analyze every aspect of his swing, and he's got the left wrist curve slightly, and it's coming down just before his hip rotates over. And I know JT's dying laughing right now, but like they're looking for something to talk about there for sure.
My point is that we have stats galore in drag racing. Like after every round, the Mickey runs around and hands out the sheets at an NHRA race with all the splits, all the incrementals, right? And it's like every team is just can't wait to pay their $20 to get those stats, right? So they can see like, oh, we were quickest to the 1,000 foot in Q1. Yeah. We had the best. Why aren't those stats more woven in?
I think you have to use it
coverage.
You have to use it sparingly or like where needed, because I feel like if you're having this conversation of we need more drama, we need more characters, we need more time devoted to interviews or to getting to know these people, that kind of goes against that we need more stats. Like if you're going to run out of time, man, like you could do both. But I think if you got to use both of them when they
have you ever wondered when you're watching a MLB game or an NFL game, it's like boom, something happens and bam. That run, there hasn't been a run in this stadium against an away team since 1984 at the week, blah, blah, blah. And you're going,
that's all resources.
Yeah, I know. But I mean,
that's because money's been devoted to that for 30 years and keeping up with it. And they have it all on hand. And it's like, where do we start with that with drag racing?
You know, like,
oh yeah,
you know,
it's impressive for sure.
Well, one thing in our industry, in this racing community, I don't think enough value has been placed on that. Like, because there are people within our space that keep like crazy records, but they're doing it for fun. You know what I mean? The Brett Kepners, the Bob Frys. I mean, and the list goes on. They're not alone. Billy at Maple Grove. I mean, there's like a lot of different people that pay really close. I mean, even Cole Rakoski, longtime drag illustrated photographer, keeps really incredible pro mod records and just data from each run. The no prep king
drag list. You remember the drag list deal?
Still exists.
I mean, Danny, it's like impossible though because of how fractured drag racing is and how much is going on in any given moment. Live streams have helped. If you actually talk to Brett Kepner about this, live streams have helped him tremendously keep up with everything that's going on and maintain his stats in the internet in general, obviously. But can you imagine? I mean, instead of just the NFL, one league, or just, the PGA, one top level version of golf, it's everything going on. Because now we want stats for the bracket race going on down the street. We want it for the.
My point is PDRA, more that I think
NHRA,
like for
overseas,
for what we're doing right now. If we talk about what we're working with currently, NHRA on Fox. We have
NHRA. You could do it.
Yeah, I think you could. To be honest, I really feel like, and I do think the hardcores want to talk about that stuff. Like, I think the hardcores want to discuss those things, the hardcore fans. And I also think fans that are looking for something to latch onto or looking for something to find interesting.
Oh, look at this.
That needs to be discussed. Like, it needs to be like, why aren't we talking about how, pro modified, I think they could create a lot of conversation if they just identified what every different combination back splits runs from the eighth to the quarter mile, right? If we just started talking about that or identified it on the broadcast or had discussions about that. We talk about it, the MLB, going back to that example, during the home run derby, every single ball is tracked 415 feet, 427 feet. And you immediately identify like, oh man, this guy, I don't know anything about him, but he can hit the ball. And it's just another talking point. And when that data is very readily available, I just am surprised we don't get more of it. What do you got for us?
Look at this comment. He said, Ryan Hill says, Brett messaged me after a run I made last year in Milan to inform me that I actually did some shit and I wasn't even thinking about it. So he, he didn't even realize that he'd done it until Brett had messaged him. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, there's a place for it for sure.
Yeah, because I mean, I definitely think that listen, I'm all for the personality pieces and we need way more of that. But I do think about like for talking points and things that, because some of this stuff is just doesn't have the depth that I think we need. Like it's easy. Oh, the driver drifted out of the groove. Okay, well, we don't really, that's a hard thing to like discern and talk about like to the fan because we don't know the measurements. We don't know how far they moved out of it. Well, it's like a half car, like a quarter of a tire width out of the groove. You can talk, but we actually have specific numbers that we could leverage and reference. I just wonder why we don't have more of that. Part of me wants to start another show here where I don't do it because I'm not smart enough to do all the number stuff and I just get super confused and turn the laptop off. But it would be cool to have somebody like break down interesting numbers from the weekend.
From the weekend? Yeah, that would be
like
crazy, right? Yeah.
You know, like, hey, guess what? So-and-so went 817 60 foot in his whatever, fuel altered. You know, maybe break down some of those stats because, man, people eat that shit up. Like it's, especially when we talk about how it's important to get new fans, but it's also important to feed the fans that are already here. And I would argue that we have a really incredible fan base, but we don't feed them enough.
Yeah,
right.
Most of them are here for that reason. They're detail-oriented, technical people. They're out here battling for every thousandth of a second. They want that. They're into it. And I think that is something that, I don't know. When you're watching a drag race on TV, it is hard to quantify like what is happening there and what makes a good run versus a bad run. Good, out of the groove, in the groove, those things. So you almost need more sensors. I think that's what's brought it. AI, computer power. That's what NFL's doing with their stuff. You've got to almost like
G level. I mean,
strap a bunch.
Look at any other sport, they can't wait to tell you how many G's it pulls, right? Like, the Red Bull air race planes pull whatever G's. Like we do that like 14
but you know what's
times
interesting?
a day.
I mean, these cars do have sensors all over them, but it's private data that no one is sharing. It's almost like it's like GoPros, right? I mean, these teams have cameras on them for their own use, but then like you go look at any of these cars like that you watch on Street Outlaws. If you see a photo of them actually at the race, it looks like they're growing GoPros at every corner, and those are all stuck on there by Discovery, so they can provide those angles. It's not.
I think some of this
data
stuff
for
is like
the team; it's data for them.
We could I'm telling you, I met a dude in Denver who's like a smart, like a tech guy, right? Talked to him for like an hour. I can't think of his name right now. It's in my phone. Anyways, he was telling me about some technology and whatever, blah, 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 blah. And I was just hearing him talk about how not easy, but like how doable. There wasn't a scenario that I presented him with like electronics and phones and whatnot.
Was it Bob Brockmeyer?
No. This is like a Southern California. I've got seed money, burn rate, run, all those like, the Silicon Valley talk, right? I'm not trying to like bash on the dude, but it was like the classic, we're on our third round of I don't know, all the stuff that like rich people say. Seed funding or whatever. And we're talking about, we've only got so much.
We're on our C round.
Yeah, C round now. He's doing A round, whatever. My point is, we were talking about all these different scenarios. I know I want to be. What was that show that we would watch on Showtime? Gosh dang it. Such a good show. Silicon Valley, is that what it was called?
It was on HBO.
No, yeah, that was on HBO. Yeah.
Oh, HBO. Great show though, right? Like I don't know anything about like all those, hedge fund stuff. I'm broke out here. But it's kind of an interesting thing. But my point was this dude, I was giving him examples. I have this belief that we need to fix roll racing. I think roll racing, this is going to get me some hate. I think roll racing could be something, but it needs to be like, there needs to be some electronics involved that make great racing and kind of fix some of the issues that they exist with the rolling start format. But anyway, we were discussing that. But as I think about it, if I'm NHRA, I mean, we got time to tech these things. I can't imagine it would be that big of a deal to make sure every car had a GPS on it, a ground speed sensor, right? So that we could report on how fast it's going at various increments throughout the track, put that on screen. I mean, I think that would be a fun number to watch. Like, think about, they throw the speed up on screen as often as possible during a NASCAR race or a Formula One race. We never show the speed until the fucking time slip. Right?
F1
I
has
want
an
to see
entire
0
channel.
to 330, right? I want to see that.
F1 has an entire channel dedicated to just data and to tracking the cars around the track. Have you seen that, like on the F1 TV thing?
That's what I was going to say is Sprint, when I used to have Sprint, they had an app Sprint. I don't know what it was, but what the app was called, but it was on there and it's free, and you could track your driver, had all of his times, all of his breakdowns, and you got the radio chatter as well on it. I mean, it's pretty cool. And then you knew what your driver was doing, what he was thinking, that he had a different strategy, I guess, but it made a race a hell of a lot more exciting to watch because you knew what was going on with the driver that you're wanting to watch.
Right. And if I think it would be cool to create, I'm thinking about storylines that could be created, those Coletta cars, they always run really good out the back. And where Mike Miscellaneous and Rob Flynn, they're just super aggressive. And that's why you see that car. These are all things I'm just, making up as I go. But that car, they're so aggressive with their tune-up that you're going to notice this car will oftentimes smoke the tires before it makes it to 300 feet. And I think that some of those storylines could be developed and talked about. And I think people would people would get excited about it. Again, we don't always need to be focused outward. Sometimes we got to be focused inward. How can we keep people here? How can we keep this community that we've got thriving? Because there's a lot of racetracks that are very successful, a lot of races that are very successful. As exciting as it is to go get new customers, I don't think we should forget that we need to treat, be excited about keeping people here and keeping people entertained and finding new ways to do it. Because right now, by all accounts, it seems like a whole lot of the same old thing. It's just a thought.
What I always thought was interesting too, or I gravitated toward even when we were racing ourselves, is people's routines. We talked about Alex Laughlin's routine being a short routine because that's what Jim Dunn does, but even their staging procedures, what they're known for, some of their tendencies. I mean, you hear that a lot in other sports, and I feel like that's a huge deal.
Guy, John Jones has never been taken down. He is, he typically wins most of his fights by knockout. He's known for that big left hook. Conor McGregor, known for his incredible left hand.
I just think it's interesting to know, we know John Force likes the deep stage in certain instances.
And that's look at how helpful that's been.
But that's basically the only one that we really know of. I know there are a ton of others, and these teams have notebooks on each other, but again, it's another thing that could draw people in. Let's see if he does that thing he's known for. Ricky Smith is really the only other one we can think of right now.
Great example though. Yeah, and look at how it has driven. It's been a part of his career.
Matt Smith had that little nugget. Thing. Matt Smith, he just recently did a tricky Ricky move on the starting line on Hector Arana. I believe it was I think it was at Denver. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where he went in and backed up. He went in and lit the bulbs and then backed up. And it was a legal move, but it kind of looked like a mistake. But you could tell later, and then they asked him in the interview, it was intentional. And it did rattle Arana and got him off his game. So it's things like that to me. You combine that with the data, and you're hitting a lot of other points that make it interesting for a broader audience, instead of just because you can't capture, to me, we were talking about this yesterday, you can't capture the spectacle of these things and on TV, and you have to be there to capture that, the power, the speed, the vibration, the sound, just the full sensory overload.
What do we hear all the time? It looks so easy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
that's right. That's what it looks
does.
Like.
And if you're just watching on TV and you don't have a lot of experience around the sport, or you don't have any those body sensation sounds or whatever to reference or think back on, the last time you were at the track, and you're just watching it, it's oh, that looks pretty easy. But if we, as the storytellers, because that's the problem, is there's a little bit of a lack of storytelling, where it's it's a valuable skill, storytelling. And it's finding ways to make a story interesting. And if it looks simple, we need to find a way to add some layers of complexity, right? And I think you do that with these details and with these backstories and documenting people's tendencies and nuances and all these things. You can add some depth to it, but someone has to step back and go, okay, listen, we're going to take notes on every driver's starting line ritual for the rest of the year. We're going to pay these 3 guys to do it. It's going to be a pain in the ass, but we're going to do it.
I'll do it.
Okay.
They can pay me to do it.
All right. Well, I'm just saying.
I would love to document that kind of stuff, man. I've always found that interesting.
Well, and dude, people would get a huge kick out of it. I think it.
Well, here's a tendency, and I don't want to shortchange any of the other winners from Seattle, but Tim Wilkerson, 4-time winner in Seattle now. This is a guy who has a tendency, when he goes to Seattle, a tendency to win. So not only that, he's a guy that to me is known, he's not going to hit a home run ball. He's not going to go qualify number one. He's not going to blow his stuff up, but he will run 4 flat with a 6, 4 flat with a 7, and 4 flat with a 7 in the 3 final rounds of eliminations. It's all about, him being consistent with the tune-up and the way he runs his car. That's something to me that I think of when I see those numbers and I see Tim Wilkerson winning again in Seattle. That feeds into his tendency versus, some home run pass or qualifying number one or going out first round. So those kind of things, to me, it's not just on track procedure, but it's like, where does this guy run well? What time of year does he run well? How does he run his car in eliminations? All those things I think are also interesting to track. And they do talk about some of those things on the NHRA broadcast, but more of that would bring more color to the deal also.
I think so. I mean, and speaking of numbers, Tim Wilkerson down to the 1,000th duplicated his performance in the final. Went 4.007 in the semis and went 4.007 in the final.
And you went 4 flat with a 6 in the
first round.
In second round, I believe.
Or second round, yeah. I mean, what an incredible performance that is. And those numbers, I mean, because for me, I'm going, all right, has that ever happened? Has anybody in nitro racing ever ran an identical run from in E3 as they did in E4? Like, that seems like a significant happening. Duplicated your performance in a freaking 12,000 horsepower funny car, right? With changing conditions and everything else and different time of day. Like, that's really impressive, man. And that's something that the hardcores would love to discuss. But I think we're over here going, all right, we've got to cover a lot of ground. We've got to talk about personalities, dust ups, our own stuff, blah, 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 what we ate this weekend. We do all these other things. We need more talking heads is what we need.
Yeah,
I keep coming back to Mike, we need more media.
Yeah, and I think Mike hit it on the head, though, because there's so much of it, right? Because even if you say just NHRA, I mean, you still have so much NHRA as well. Like, over here in this,
not just Top Fuel. It's Top Fuel, Funny Car, Pro Stock, Pro Stock Bike, Pro
and
Mod.
over here, you're talking about just, the NFL or, the MLB or NBA or whatever. So,
early in the World Series of Pro Mod deal, I wanted to keep stats on every driver. I thought, you know what, to really do this the way that I want to do it, we're going to have to keep stats on every driver. And it's like, it was a couple of races into the season. I'm going, well, this is, I don't have the bandwidth to keep track of.
It's our friends at Win Light Bets also, what they're trying to do with the fantasy aspect. That all feeds into this data and the stats and the fractured nature of drag racing. We talked about that, had Rex on. That's the number one hurdle they're facing to be able to do what they're trying to do with that deal. So yeah, I don't know how you get your hands around it. Maybe as we just get further with AI and technology, being able to
AI will do it for us for long. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe we'll just we won't worry
Wes,
about that.
just start feeding your AI all this information after a race, and then it's going to build a database for you.
I spend as much time working with artificial intelligence right now as anything else in my life, and that's a little bit terrifying. Right?
I talked to one just last Saturday night. Oh, something different. Never mind.
No, hey man, AI. If we play our cards right, it can be a very, very, very helpful tool. I mean, not helping anybody more than content creators.
Let's touch on a couple more things before we jump out of here. What about Sonoma this weekend? This is one of my favorite races of the year, and I tried to convince you and my wife and your wife to go, but I got shot down. But this is a great race. I'm going to go.
I'm never going to live this not going to Sonoma thing down.
Yep.
Well, yeah, because he didn't want to go to work. Hey, why don't me, you, and our wives go?
Business trip.
Yeah,
let's go. It's going to go on a business trip.
It makes a lot of sense to me.
Should have been like, hey, why don't we see if JT and Nate want to go? And
I'm trying to survive.
It's going to cost Wes $20,000. That's
why. That's why we got to be real careful when we're inviting you to wine country.
That's true. What would you even do? Yeah. Roll up and tell them you brought your own Kurs?
Yeah.
I'm good. Hey, I got a cooler in the trunk. I brought my Yeti.
Yeah.
I brought my Yeti.
Oh my gosh,
man. But man, I haven't looked at the weather for this weekend. Jim Park said earlier that if the weather's there, we could see that 300-mile-an-hour 8th mile nitro run this weekend. And that's definitely a place where you could get that done. I just think it's crazy, the Western Swing, going through all these different tracks, these different track services.
How about the Salinas Camp track? Like, I'm so jealous. Like, I'm no motorcycle guy, but that's dope. right?
That is
Like
pretty sweet.
that's so cool. I've told my
That's
wife,
doing it right.
as soon as my kids get a little more grown up or whatever, and I'm not like above being gone for 3 weeks, I'm going to drive from Fort Worth to Sonoma and back. Like I'm going to do the whole deal. I guess I won't have to worry
I will
about
fly
going
to Sonoma and meet you there.
Yeah, I just want to do it. I like road trips, man. I like driving.
Me too.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I really do. Ryan Hill. Okay, I'm going to do what we're not supposed to do and let the comments steer the conversation. I'm sorry, guys.
We talked about that, Ryan, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Can we talk about what's replacing Denver for the Western Swing? Wasn't sure if that got talked about before or not. Yeah, we have talked about it, but I don't know what
we
they're
don't know.
do.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
I think I will say that the silver lining is don't add or to this whole Banamir thing going away is that it could reduce the schedule, which is something that I believe that the teams unanimously support. I'm yet to talk to a team that isn't pretty hip to the idea of running a couple less races. There are a handful of teams that have their sponsorship programs on a per race deal that they don't like that idea because they're dinging, they want to be able to build their sponsors for another appearance or whatever. But
how about this one, Wes?
Okay, what is it? Oh, give a little teaser for next week's press conference. Yeah, man. News broke this morning, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. I think this will. I've told my team I think that this is going to be a moment where things changed and we identified a time and date that things changed, and I believe that that was this morning, Wednesday, July 26th at 10 a.m. Central. We sent out a media alert to make the masses aware that we are hosting. We're having a press conference August 2nd, next Wednesday. That will take place live from the Flow Racing headquarters in Austin, Texas. I'm looking forward to being there. I'm looking forward to sharing some really, really significant news with all of you, being joined by a lot of people that I've been working arm in arm with for many months now, actually, and excited to kind of share our news with the world. JT, Mike, you both have been involved in this deal for a long time, part of these discussions, the group of people that we've assembled, the stakeholders, if you will, the partnerships that have been formed, I think bode well for the sport of drag racing. And I think we're going to change the game once again, to be honest with you, in my opinion. We're going to change the game once again, not just us, a collection of people, a group of people that I believe share a common goal, share a big vision for the sport of drag racing, and I couldn't be more excited to share with all of you. 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be going live. Flow Racing, of course, will be going live. Drag Illustrated will be live. You'll be able to watch the press conference. We are going.
That's actually going to replace the show for next week. It'll
replace the show.
When you tune in next week, that's what you're going to see. Which I think you're going to want to see that as much as you love seeing us talk every week.
Yeah, I think that next week is going to be a fun one, man. It's like I said, I think that we will point to this day and probably even maybe more so Wednesday, August 2nd, as the beginning of something really, really, really special that serves as a complementary piece to the sport of drag racing, a real high tide lifts all boats type of moment, in my opinion. And I'm genuinely excited about it, man. There's the right people are involved, and the right people make all the difference, man. Everything I've been involved in, every success, every failure, of which there have been many, it always comes back to who's working on it, right? And I think the people that are working on this are the right people. So it's an exciting thing.
Exciting. It is
very, very exciting, man.
That's all we're going to say on it till next week. So
yeah, tune in next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. I want to remind everybody, let's do we'll tidy up here. Let me pay a few bills. I want to remind you guys that each and every episode of the Wes Buck Show is made possible by way of our friends at Stroud Safety. Stroud Safety is known for their top quality racing safety equipment, from drag chutes and seatbelts to fire suits and blankets, all 100% made in America. Log on to StroudSafety.com today and make sure you tell them we sent you. It's it's that time of year. We're headed into the heat of summer. We've had Tommy Cunningham from Stroud actually on a recent episode of Drag Illustrated Shop Talk talking about, one of the things that can damage your belts and window nets is just the sun. Those things start turning gray. It's time to buy new ones. Call Stroud Safety today and take care of the ones that take care of us, right? Support the brands that support the sport of drag racing and the Wes Buck Show and everything we're doing here at Drag Illustrated. Guys, what else do we have to cover? What a year for Gage Herrera. I want to give this guy his flowers. I don't think we've ever seen a rookie make the impact on a professional category in drag racing the way this young man has.
It's crazy.
Absolutely unbelievable what we're seeing from this guy. Truly a special young man. Excited to see the Western Swing come to a conclusion. I guess we're not going to see a sweep. We're not going to see.
We need to have him on.
We should have him on. We have to pry it out of him though, because he's a little bit of a quiet guy.
I
talked to him at Charlotte. I talked to him at Charlotte in the pits, and I was there with Rick. We shot some photos in case we would need him, which sounds like
looks like
we're going to need to if he keeps it up. Yeah, man. I mean, cool kid, good guy to talk to. So I definitely think he'd be an interesting interview here on the show. But the other thing we got to talk about is Pro Stars, man. PDRA Pro Stars had a hell of an event, a barn burner this past weekend at VMP.
No, good point. What a deal, man. Tip of the cap to, I'm telling you, we're in an age of independent events. I've been forecasting this for a long time. God bless the traveling series. I think they will always be a cornerstone, a big part of the drag racing community, and not just NHRA or IHRA or NMCA, but touring series. It's special to chase a championship. Those that have done it have kept track of points and fought the year-long battle. Those are really, really, really important things. And I don't think they're diminishing in importance or value or significance. But I do think we're kind of in a new era, a new time where these independent events are going to continue.
And multifaceted events. They had a concert. They had all kinds of different new classes, exhibition classes. Ricky Smith driving a damn top fueler.
What a deal.
That was awesome, right? Oh, my God. That's great.
Let's talk about that momentarily. Real quick. We'll rapid fire this
on Ricky. I haven't seen him smile like that. I don't know that I've ever seen Ricky smile that much.
The thing that pissed me off about the Ricky Smith deal was how easy he made that look. Yeah. If you notice the way there's little things that you see from guys that have raced quite a bit, getting the car into reverse, right? Backing up smoothly, staging the car smoothly. The way he did the burnout, the car drifting left, him getting out of it, like just masterclass. I mean, just really incredible. Speaks to tricky Ricky Smith's
this is what Ricky does, man.
Prowess, man. Drive race cars. That's what he does.
Right. He said, damn, I'm not intimidated now. This shit's on, boys. Get me back in this thing. And shout out to Scott Palmer for allowing that to happen. I said in our chat over the weekend, Scott Palmer's like a nitro drug dealer. He's like this dude hanging around the corner, like, hey,
dude, he should change his name, or like the car should be the dealer, the nitro dealer.
Hey kid, man, you ever heard of this nitro stuff? You ever wanted to see what this is about? Come on, man. I'll get you in my car over here.
Or he could paint his car like a serial killer van.
Yeah, like a white van.
Like a white van with put a bubble window
nitro
on the front somewhere. One of those little bubble windows. Yeah. Put free candy on it.
Nitro.
Because you drive one of those things, like Ricky Smith will probably have all of his stuff sold again. And he'll be getting a top fuel ride. I would love to see Ricky run an event. I wouldn't be surprised. I see that guy Carlton. Shout out to all of y'all that participate in the show every week and comment and keep it interesting. I think we should see Ricky in the car for an event. I think he's got enough people that care about him and want to see him shine. That there are enough folks that I think financially that could be made to happen. Really cool deal. The whole thing, it was great to be talking about Larry Dixon. I love seeing Scott Palmer celebrated. That man is a huge
PBR sponsorship.
Yeah, PBR stepping up, being a part of that deal, supporting him in a unique way. Not you're going to go do X amount of events for us, but hey, we want to support you. You're on brand. We feel there's some crossover opportunity. And we want to work together and support you in whatever it is that you want to do, whether that's Nitro Pro Mod racing, whether that's World Series of Pro Mod, whether that's Top Fuel racing, whatever it is, we want to be a part of it. I think it really speaks to the kind of guy Scott Palmer is, and just glad to see him.
They should start the show like that, at one of these events, if it wouldn't scare all the livestock so bad.
They'd have a real problem.
He's going to be the pyro.
I saw a video of a rodeo bull getting loose in an arena yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I was scrolling, on one of them. Yep. And rodeo, it was a bull, jumped the fence, and people in the stands really took it well. Like it must have been down here somewhere because no one.
They all had a rope on them.
I'm ready.
Yeah, they're ready.
But it was kind of not the pandemonium. I thought whoever was filming it was about to get trampled to death from people running away, but most everybody just reached for their rope. Hold on, let me get my lasso. It's in my other bag. There were women trying to lasso this thing, and they got it. They got it back in the whatever chute or whatever you call it. Some
shoot.
Yeah,
farmer,
that's some
shoot.
Texas shit right
farmer
there
talk.
for sure.
Do you remember Andrew Dice Clay, the comedian?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Everybody who lives between New York and LA is a fucking farmer. Everybody from New York to LA is a farmer.
Dude,
Yeah, I
I
think
used
it's
to
funny.
listen to that shit all the time.
Oh, dude.
Holy cow. That's
He
I
was
can't
so-
listen to it no more, bro.
That's
He was
probably
so
why-
that
controversial.
comedy.
Yeah.
He was so controversial, but now I feel like, well, outside of some of the stuff, that he
Jason
said-
Aldean's controversial now.
Yeah, everything's controversial. You're right.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's very interesting.
Don't
to
say,
me.
don't even. We're not going down this.
Yeah.
path.
Okay.
We'll do a separate show for that. But yeah,
John
Jim
said-
Parks. We got
John
to.
said that
I don't
Shake
like
and Bake
sticker
gave us-
bars.
John says here in the comments that Shake and Bake gave us
Trying
some
to
props
figure something
last night. Thank you. And they have a great show. They had Eric on last night. So appreciate
Live
that.
from
Yeah.
Greece or something. Her
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
Courtney
she's
are
in
over
like
there.
Greece, man. She's on a boat today.
You can tell when people are moving up in the world when they stop going to Mexico and they start going to Greece.
I'm going to
Right.
Mexico next week with my kids, so I'm going to be gone next week, guys.
Yeah, and that's
Um,
really showing kind of where you're at in the world. Going
Yeah.
to Mexico.
And you know, really, I'm
Going to an
all
all-inclusive. It's got a water
All-inclusive.
park.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm just hoping that I make it back with my kids. You know, like boom.
Are you going to is a kid-friendly
I'm
all-inclusive
worried
ready
about
for
your
JT
kids.
Hudson?
I've seen you on vacation in Mexico, and is this a family friendly
I
place?
should have took
or-
a sitter with us.
Yeah,
Oh, that's my wife. Never mind, we'll be fine. No,
What resort are you
but-
going to? Do you know?
I don't know. I'm going to Playa. I don't know. I don't plan anything. You know how I roll.
Must
Do you
be
know
nice
there's a
just to
lot
be
of
JT.
Italian
You don't even
immigrants
know where
in
you're
Playa
going.
del
you just
Carmen?
show
I
up.
don't. I found out just a couple days ago that we were actually going to Playa. So,
That's nice, man.
I like that
Mhm.
area a lot. Have you been to Fifth Avenue?
oh yeah,
You ever go?
oh yeah.
Alicia and I have had some hella good times down there. She actually got mad. We went to Mexico in, I don't know, a while ago.
I don't
April.
leave the resort once
Yeah,
you
I
go to
do.
Mexico. Bad
I do.
idea. It seems like
I
am staying
I
in the resort.
actually I like leaving the resort. I like to have my days where I just
Not me.
get sloshed.
If
at the-
someone doesn't
Swimming
try to
pool,
sell
but-
me like a cigar or a fake watch or tell me that the best
Yeah.
one is when they tell you that they know you from the resort. Do you know this trick?
oh yeah,
Where, especially if
Oh,
you're
no.
wearing like a wristband.
No. That's
Yeah, if you're wearing a wristband that says
waited
that
on
like
you.
the buffet from
Yeah, I waited on
the
you last
Hilton
night at the
buffet.
buffet,
I
dude. My
waited on
cousin,
you, remember?
has a place over here. He'll hook us up.
That's what they
Yeah.
say right before they
All the
rob
time.
you.
Yep.
Yep.
Right.
This is why you don't leave the resort.
Oh, no. I had
Mike
a
had
hat
some
on-
interesting experiences at a resort earlier this year. We won't talk about that one, but I remember whenever we were my wife and I were pulling into this resort. Alicia and I were rolling in, and we had a driver. Right? Come on, let's talk. Right? Like we had a driver. Someone driving us. you
Yeah.
know? I ain't driving.
it's-
I'm on
it's tax-
vacation.
Yeah, congrats. That's $5.
Congrats.
I know.
You're
It was
balling.
$40, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, we got a private driver driving us to the resort, and we get close. Right, it's been a really easy drive, and the guy starts telling us about all the people who had recently gone missing, all the
Sweet.
people that had been robbed recently, the shooting that had happened
Mhm.
at some nightclub, and by the time we went like a mile,
Cartel turf wars. You just hope
Alicia
you're
was
not.
trembling. She was literally like, I just want to go home. And this guy's telling some story about how he'd been kidnapped and all this. And I looked at him and I said, new subject, dude. Like,
Yeah.
we got it. Like, it's
Yeah.
nice out. Let's talk about
Hey.
the weather. Do y'all do sports
Um,
down here? Because this convo is not going to make my vacation. And it
So-
nuked the trip. She was worried.
Where are you heading?
She was looking for
the
gunmen
airport.
the rest of the week. Everywhere we went, she's like, I think that guy's got a gun. No, I'm
Ah,
being
shit.
dramatic, but
Hey, before we
what I
wrap
told
up,
you.
we got to give a shout out to Nate, who competed in PDRA Pro Stars in the rental car division,
Nate
or
Wagner.
whatever that was. I think it was like Street ET. Yeah, Nate
yeah,
Wagner.
Nate Wagner.
Wagner competed in it. Yeah, he was killer on the tree in time trials. I have to go back. He kind of gave us a recap, and then came eliminations. Man, he just fell apart. I think he had a 1 something light, and
We should have interviewed him. Put some pressure on him.
His V6 Challenger just didn't cut it. So
Man,
But hey,
I'm just glad he had
rental
a helmet
car
that fit his
racing.
head.
Yeah.
You know, we had there at Vandermeer, we had to like cut the side out of a 5-gallon bucket for him to have a helmet. So
Oh yeah.
Nate
How
is
about,
like a I don't know. He's like
He
a
treated-
rental car grudge racer. Anywhere, anytime there's a rental car race, Nate's there.
he
Forward
treated
or
Stevie
backward.
Jackson at Vandermeer, and I was riding with Stevie. Stevie was pissed.
My 14-year-old son cleaned out Lyle Barnett on the practice tree at Bradenton during World Series of Pro Mod. Max literally crushed Lyle Barnett. So they were giving us some kudos. I'm gonna clap back and say that my 14-year-old son Max, who's never driven a race car, it was like this. He was going, just crushing him.
Was he in the left seat? Was he in the left seat or right seat when he did that?
Right seat.
Oh, see, I think something's wrong with that thing, man.
Yeah, JT's looking for it out. He thinks that
your bracket racer
he wants a calibration.
Well, let me guess, the rollout was wrong.
It
and
was.
The seat on the right.
He's mad because I went like 005 on him 3 times in a row.
I think
let's do a virtual. We should get everybody together and do like a big virtual get together and do a practice tree shootout. Louise, I was struggling to get that spit out there. My God. Yeah. What a day. What a day.
Today, Junior.
What else do we have going on this week?
That's it, man.
Hey, huge shout out. I do want to say Tyler Crossnow pours his heart and soul into PDRA Pro Stars in the Night of Fire at Virginia Motorsports Park. Rough way for it to end. But I thought another example of the racing community really rallying around these guys. I didn't see a crossword about it. They had a timing system failure late in the night. It caused them all sorts of problems and prevented them from finishing the race ultimately. I was thinking about this. I really think we should have arm dropped those things. I would have called Limpy from down here in the DFW area and had him strap that flashlight on his forehead, and I'd have sent him. And I'd have had somebody down at the big end, a spotter with a radio, and tell us Dixon by 2, or whatever.
It would have been kind of cool, right? Yeah.
I don't know, man. I tell you what, I send them. I remember being in out in your neck of the woods, Michael. What was that little track where everybody was wrecking that one year? ADRL, 8th Mile, Radford, Virginia.
Motor Mile.
A little bit short, right? We were running,
badass track, man.
Badass track.
Elevation, but you can still haul ass there.
Yeah,
but you better have the chutes out.
Spot. Super cool spot. I remember being there and the timing system went down during maybe an ADRL race. I can't remember what it was, but Kenny Nolling got up there and dropped his arms, did the deal.
Just strap a deer stand to the tree and then go up and sit in it. Perfect.
Oh, yeah, man. Probably get blown away with those fuel cars. It'd be rough to arm drop a fuel car, probably.
But
I bet there are people that did it
back in the day on Pinks or something. You remember that? Something about this, yeah.
He's built for it. Homeboy was jacked.
Yep.
Right? Shredded, really. Not super big, muscular, but like shredded. He was one of like a health food guy or whatever. I struggle with that. I can do the working out, but it's the eating chicken and broccoli and all that. That's what I struggle with.
I'm more of a struggle with both other type of guy.
JT, this is my favorite. When I was in Kirksville, he'd be like, "Hey man, I'm gonna you want to go for lunch?" And I'm like, "Yeah, where are you going?" And he would go, "I'm low carbonate. I'm gonna get buffalo wings." And I'm like, "Well, they're like breaded, man." He's like, "Well, they're chicken. It's better than eating like a sandwich." And I'm like, "Well,
it is."
And then you're going to drown them in buffalo sauce and mayonnaise and ranch. And I'm like, you realize there are carbs in that stuff, right? Like carbs aren't only
put mayonnaise on wings.
No.
Is that a thing?
He puts mayonnaise on everything.
I would.
Okay.
You should go to Arby's with JT. I shit you not. He gets like 6 of every sauce they have.
I like
and then he takes bites of stuff with multiple sauces on said bite. So like, for an example, if he orders, let's just say, mozzarella sticks from Arby's,
ranch
and large, there's going to be 6 mozzarella sticks in that thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So can you imagine the cornucopia of flavor combinations that opens the door for JT to enjoy? I mean, it's unbelievable. He's going to take one bite, or he's going to get the mozz stick out. He's going to go ranch, then marinara. Yeah. Same bite.
Solid,
right?
That kid's
he'll take that bite,
and then
he's going to go.
You go backwards.
Sour.
You go backwards, so you have them kind of. They're mixing themselves as you're going. So
he'll be dipping it. It's really unbelievable.
And then fries, mayonnaise, and ketchup mixed together. Oh, that's good. Ranch and ketchup's good mixed together too.
Ranch and ketchup?
Yeah, it's good.
I'm okay with salsa and sour cream, but that's about as far as I will go. I don't like my food to touch on plates.
Sometimes I just mix it together.
Oh my God. I knew you were that guy though. That's why my dad eats everything. Casserole. It's like, I mean, my dad hasn't had solid food in, I don't know, just shy of 6 months or something since like November. So I got to be easy about talking about food in front of him. I hope he doesn't watch this, but I ate with him at a hotel last year. Maybe it's been 2 years ago now. He was running PDRA Pro Stock at the Maryland International Raceway. It was the first race they ever, a couple of years ago. First race they ever went to with his Mountain Motor Pro Stock car. Tony Gillig was driving for him. It was a rough weekend, unfortunately. But anyways, I flew up, surprised him, didn't tell him I was coming. Showed up at the track, surprised him, and I ended up staying at the same hotel, of course. We go for breakfast in the morning. My dad goes to like the classic, whatever, the Marriott, Hilton. Not a Marriott or Hilton. I mean, my dad was staying at a hotel like that. It was like Best Western. We stay at the Best Western, go have breakfast, and he literally gets like a sampling of everything, the water-based scrambled eggs or whatever those things are.
There's water in it or something, man.
There is, man. I don't even know how you make eggs look like that. And I can't believe people eat them. I'm like, I can't believe they can keep getting away. All the other expectations that exist in this world today, but those are the eggs they're serving us. It's unbelievable. But he goes around the room, gets everything, gets some biscuits, gets bacon, not grits, like shredded potatoes, all this stuff. Then he does the most Eddie Buck thing. Goes and gets a big old ladle full of white country gravy.
Oh yeah,
and just douses the entire, not
That's
like
a
a
move.
little on his biscuit.
No.
Right, which is what I would do. Like, okay, I'm gonna have me a biscuit and gravy. That's like a thing. Those are foods that go together. He just pours it on everything. Like I literally, we went and sat down, and he starts mixing it all together and eating it. Like, just, I don't know,
sounds
reckless
great to me.
abandon. Reckless
Yeah,
abandon.
solid.
Just not
Sounds
even
good to me,
knowing,
man.
knowing what's in the bite.
I like my
And I
gravy
told him,
on
there's no
hash-
wonder you feel like shit.
I like
No
my
wonder.
gravy on hash browns. You know, like over hash
Oh,
browns,
yeah.
and then
Yeah.
I order a cheeseburger and I dip my cheeseburger in the gravy
Now we're getting a little bit.
with extra salt. Yeah, I mean it's
What about Sonic has stopped serving country gravy, white gravy, with their chicken strip baskets? It's just gone. Didn't tell anybody. Just gone one day. You can't replace white gravy with barbecue sauce.
Those
You can't
people,
do it. It should be
those
illegal.
people are
I
going
don't
to
eat
Dairy
at
Queen.
Sonic. I think the last time I ate at a Sonic was with you, Wes.
Their
I
burgers
don't
are
know.
good.
It's just not on the rotation
Memphis.
around.
I think
here.
we were in Memphis, Tennessee, maybe.
Yeah, something like that.
Their burgers
Remember, it
are
was-
really good.
No, we were.
It-
we bought like
it
this
was-
is
it
the
was, like,
classic
so
late night
salty.
West order
was
like
crazy.
$100 worth of fast food and eat $8 worth.
Yep.
Yeah,
And then their
that's one of
cheese
my
sticks are
favorite
good
things to do,
too.
though.
Their burgers are good. Their cheese sticks are good. Yeah, I'm a Sonic fan.
Sonic's a big thing in the South. Like in
No
our
Wendy's.
little town of Aledo, Texas. I don't go to Wendy's ever again. Never going to Wendy's ever again, JT. But there's two Sonics within a mile of my house. That no joke. A town of a few thousand.
We have them all over the place here. It's just I don't know.
Are you saying you avoid them?
Yeah.
Do your kids like ice cream? What about Christian and Caroline? Do
Man,
they
my
not like-
kids, it's Chick-fil-A and McDonald's. That's it. That's
My
like
buddies-
all they
what's your kid's favorite
want.
food?
My buddy Greg has a margarita machine. It's like a igloo cooler or like the igloo Gatorade coolers, you know.
We're talking about what our kids eat, dude.
I know, but I was just gonna say, and then it has a like garbage disposal in the bottom of it that runs back up through, and it's a margarita machine. And
For the
it
kids?
uses, you put Sonic Ice in it. We go to Sonic's and get the
Yeah,
big
man.
bag.
You can buy it by the bag. Do you know that?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We go get it by the bag and then put it in there, and it makes some awesome margaritas.
Holy moly, man. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I love Sonic Ice. It's a treat, to be honest. Just going to Sonic and getting like a Coke Zero, like nectar of the gods.
I've never
Ice
understood.
is- Coke
Ice
Zero?
is a
I've
big
never-
deal in
I've never
Texas. I
understood the
noticed
whole
that.
Sonic Ice thing. Like
You got to
it's
have
ice.
different kinds of
Like,
ice. Chewy
wow.
ice.
That's
Crushed
chewy ice.
ice,
That's Sonic Ice.
big
It's the
ice,
best
you know.
ice. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
ice.
you got to have the full deal.
All right, this is way off track.
We
right?
went off the rails.
Okay.
Just
Here we
cut
go.
Blake, just cut this last part out.
Yeah.
Now leave it. Well, hey guys, thank you all so much for being a part of this. Remember, next Wednesday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, August 2nd, we've got a major announcement being made in conjunction with the gang at Pro, the Professional Racers and Owners Organization. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Remember, click like, click share, click subscribe, spread the gospel of drag racing. Help us remind folks that this sport ain't going anywhere, and it may well be as strong as it's ever been. Thank you guys all for joining us today. Huge shout out to Steve Torrance for spending some time with us. All of our sponsors, flowracing.com, Aeromotive Fuel Systems, Racers Club, Stroud Safety, and Redline Oil. Thank you guys all so much for supporting this project, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks, guys. Play some tunes or
Later.
something. We need some outro music. Like, let's keep talking, and you play the music as we hit the end of the show, guys. Hang
Tell me
tight,
which one
everybody.
you
Just keep it natural.
Yeah, very natural.
Yeah, the moment's really gone. There we go. You missed
Is
that
that
one.
like Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood or what was
Yeah.
going on?
Okay. Well, we shall rebuild.
That's not bad. Fade that out.
These are
Now
all
fade
kind
it.
of horrible, to be honest with you. But you know,
And let's do like
All
a
right.
dramatic exit. I'll push my mic away.
we'll have
take my
Blake.
speakers
We'll have
away,
Blake
take my-
work on some music. You know, he is a
Yeah.
musician, and we're using this shitty music.
All right, guys. Talk soon.